So I appreciate your work. Thank you. Yield back.
Senator Manchin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for your service. And if I might ask, was there any disagreements on the involvement that Russia has had in, or their attempts to have in this process of our elections by any of the intelligence community? Did any of you have different takes on this, or have to collaborate in order to come to one conclusion?
There was one aspect that there was a difference in confidence levels held by NSA versus the rest of us on one single aspect. I'd be more comfortable discussing that in a closed session.
Okay. Any other countries that have been hacking us from the standpoint that brings a concern that you have with this? You're saying no one's ever done this to this level in our political process, but when you look at espionage, sabotage, basically through military or industrial.
Well, there's a lot of espionage, certainly, collecting, exfiltrating information. Obviously, the Chinese come to mind, but in very much a contrast between the passive collection, the passive exfiltration, as opposed to the actively purloining information and then using it for a political end. That's the difference here.
I think all of us.
Russians are unique.
Yes, I think all of us are, have been very much concerned. Did the outcome of the election, was it altered? And you've been very clear to saying it has not been altered, nor would the outcome of this election been any different.
Well, I have to clarify one aspect of what you just said, Senator. We did not assess the impact on the electorate. We did not do public opinion polls because that's not our charter. The intelligence community do that. So we just can't say about whether the release of the hacked information, how that changed any voter's opinion. We don't know.
Okay, knowing that, then, what recommendations of sanctions would you have? What sanctions recommendation do you think that would deter Russia or any other country from continuing hacking us?
Well, that's clearly a policy call. We got into that last Thursday at the Senate Armed Services Committee, and there are a range of tools that we could use, and I think Admiral Rogers, in my view, is that we should consider the whole range of tools, not necessarily do a cyber for cyber reaction, and look at all of them.
I'm thinking what I'm trying to get to is if hacking is so serious and with the technology that we have today can alter our lives relatively very quickly. If that's all capability and possibilities of happening, shouldn't we have a broad basically policy in the United States of America that any hacking internationally that's been confirmed and concurred by the intelligence community, once you all basically authorize that this happened, as you've agreed right now this happened in our electoral process, that we should enforce the sanctions on any country that does this, so to deter them from doing it?
Well, I think, as again, the discussion we had in the Armed Services Committee Thursday was if you're conducting espionage, then if we're going to punish, nation states are going to punish each other for conducting espionage, which is a passive collection of information, that's a pretty heavy policy call, which I don't think any of us want to make. When it's an activist campaign, as it was here, that's a different proposition. And again, I think it's not our call to decide what to do in response. Our only comment, and I will repeat it, was to consider the whole range of potential tools, instruments of power, national power to respond. The challenge you get into with cyber for cyber, of course, is you have to also consider the counter-retaliation to that. And while we spend a lot of time agonizing over precision and being very surgical, the adversaries may not be quite as precise as we might be. So again, bottom line, consider all tools.
I'm just saying when we know it's state-sponsored. Article 5 of NATO treaty specifies that all NATO members will defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all other allies if they are attacked. Has NATO intervened at all? Has any of the other countries intervened in this? Our NATO allies?
Well, I can't speak for each individual NATO member on what they may or may not have done to defend themselves or to retaliate against a perceived cyber attack. I don't.
But did we as United States defend any of them when they've been attacked?
Well, if the NATO alliance and member nation invokes Article 5, I believe that's the provision. I'm getting out of my lane here. That's where an attack against one's considered an attack against all. I don't know that that's ever been exercised. I don't think it has in a cyber context.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My time has expired.
Senator Cotton.